Hello and welcome to another interesting edition of the program Service to Humanity, your window into the activities of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development and its agencies as it carries out its mandate. You will agree with me that quite a lot has been happening under the National Social Investment Program, NSIP. In order to get an update, we spoke to the National Coordinator of the program, Engineer Umar Bindr. Details of this interview will be our major focus in this episode of the program. Still under the NSIP, we shall bring you testimonies of some beneficiaries of the N-Power N-Skills as part of our success story. Please stay tuned for details of this and more coming your way shortly. Our first stop will be the Management Diary, where we bring you news on recent happenings in the humanitarian ministry, as well as her agencies. On the news, NSCC sets up help desk for flood-affected older persons. This and more coming up shortly.
Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk has inaugurated the Committee on Humanitarian Mine Action for the Northeast in Abuja. The minister noted in her speech that after an armed conflict is over, the battlefields are frequently covered in explosive debris, much of which is still dangerous and which has the potential to continue killing, injuring and negatively affecting daily lives of affected communities. Sadia Umar Farouk continued by saying that local communities frequently lack the tools necessary to address the issue on their own. She noted that the safe return of IDPs, refugees in the Northeast, and for farming activities to resume, agricultural lands must be surveyed for explosive contamination and farmers must be given explosive ordnance risk education. She also revealed that during the celebration of World Humanitarian Day in 2022, President Muhammadu Buhari gave the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs the task of finding a solution to the threat posed by explosive ordnance. The establishment of the National Humanitarian Mine Action Committee, she said, is in accordance with the presidential directive to protect citizens in the Northeast from the threat of explosive ordinances. The 8-member committee has Group Captain Sadiq Garbashehu retired as the national coordinator. The minister tasked the committee with adhering to the national mandate to protect lives and aid those injured by explosive ordnance. She also urged the UN agencies, the diplomatic corps, and international partners and donors to assist the committee in fulfilling its task. The National Senior Citizens Center, NSCC, has activated help desk for flood-affected older persons in internally displaced persons camp in the affected states and locations. This is done in partnership with the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, development partners, state emergency management agencies, and NSCC Stakeholders Consultative Forum on Aging. In a press release, NSCC Director General Dr. Omokaro noted that the decision is necessitated by the high proportion of older casualties in the affected areas and the vulnerability of older women and men in such situations in the affected states of the Federation. Dr. Omokaro commended the National Emergency Management Agency and the State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, development partners and other organizations for rescue efforts at flood-affected locations despite challenges faced. In Delta State, where there are already over 10 camps created, the NSCC Help Desk are already functional at most camps, including Isoko and Ozoro IDP camps, among other locations, facilitated by NSCC Delta State Stakeholders Consultative Forum on Aging under the coordination of its co-chair, Mrs. Caroline Usikpedo Oliseowe. Some of the services rendered at the NSCC Help Desk for the flood-affected older persons are basic health checks, data capture, and collation of older persons.
Welcome back. The National Social Investment Program, NSIP, as designed and launched in 2016 by the federal government, is a suite of programs with a focus to ensuring a more equitable distribution of resources to vulnerable populations, including children, youth, and women. From NPower to National Homegrown School Feeding Program, Conditional Cash Transfer, and Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, JEEP. Our crew interacted with the National Coordinator of the NSIP in Abuja, where he talked about the progress made in 2022 under the 4 clusters of the NSIPs. Let's have that story.
Since 2016, the National Social Investment Programs combined have supported more than 4 million beneficiaries nationwide through a fair and transparent process coordinated by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, and supported by the Ministry of Budget and National Planning and other notable MDAs with aligned goals. Poor and vulnerable Nigerians have been targeted to benefit from these programs in a bid to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty by the year 2030, which is one out of many missions of the President Buhari administration. National Coordinator of the NSIPs, Engineer Umar Bindr, speaks on that mission.
Back in 2015, when this administration came in, poverty was a real issue. A real issue in the sense that, to a certain extent, poverty accounted for most of the ills of the society in our country. And based on data from the Bureau of Statistics, poverty incidence averaged like 0.7, that is 70%. And Mr. President noted the primordial and the highest level of the effects of poverty. Yeah, insurgency was at its highest, rampages were all over the place, youth disenchantment and unhappiness was everywhere, and that was why the energy of the executive and to a certain extent the support of the legislative came on supporting the establishment of the National Social Investment Program.
Engineer Bindr speaks about the NPower and Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, JEEP, as he gives an update on the progress made so far.
As we speak, the NPower graduate volunteers is clocking somewhere between 1.5 to 2 million beneficiaries. I'm happy to report that the non-graduate training, skills acquisition, and skills building and competencies building is clocking between possibly 200 to 300,000, resulting in young people being trained and empowered with toolkits, establishing their businesses, employing themselves and employing others, and providing good services and creating wealth. The other cluster, which is to do with the Government Empowerment and Enterprise and Empowerment Program, JEEP, was reviewed. Earlier it had contributed to empowering between 2 to 3 million people, but it has been changed to become very inclusive and so on and so forth. And as we speak, the JEEP is actually transferring resources to market women, which is a very, very critical sector of the economy, to the traders, roasting corn, selling sugarcane, tiger nut, and so on and so forth, and small-scale farmers, within the tune of 1.5 to 2 million beneficiaries. This is ongoing. So many of the trained and skilled people from NPower are actually being empowered by the loans so that you can expand the wealth creation activity.
On the National Homegrown School Feeding and Conditional Cash Transfer programs, Engineer Bindr also notes that there have been remarkable successes recorded.
The third cluster, which is the school feeding program, wonderful initiative to look at the future, to ensure that the children of the poor are mainstreamed, to have education, good education, because of the meals. They will eat, they are strong, they are healthy, and while at it, the teachers and the instructors will do their best. Again, for that program, we are between 10 to 12 million the children that are being fed nationwide. And then the final one, which is the conditional cash transfer, which is not based on individuals, it's based on poor and vulnerable households, starting from the social register, where we develop the database of poor and vulnerable households in this country. Now, I'm happy to report that we are between 12 or so million households documented in a database, with over 40 million individuals in that database, out of which 2 million poor and vulnerable households are benefiting on the 5,000 naira per month conditional cash transfer.
As implementation of the 4 clusters of the NSIPs progressed, the programs saw expansions, new innovations, and dynamic responses to challenges. He speaks on the Empower.
On the Empower level, we now realize that so many of our young chaps, up to the age of 15, and a little bit above, who have never been to even post-primary school, who are dropouts of primary schools, who have never been into the 4 walls of any educational institution, but are strong and can be skilled. Then we now introduce the N-Skills. N-Skills is the new platform under Empower that is catching these young people, building their capacity in automobile repairs, vulcanizing, aluminium works, welding and fabrication, bakery and so on and so forth, leather, fishing and so on and so forth. Very vast activities. Now, again, these will be trained intensively for 3 months, be attached to enterprising operational entities for another 6 months, a 9-month period, with the intention to actually get them also into the mainstream of the economy. They have skills, they have tools of trade, and therefore they can establish their businesses or become employees.
In March 2022, over 500,000 beneficiaries of batches A and B of the Empower program graduated.
We realize that many have actually gone ahead to organize themselves, either in their businesses or to get employment and so on and so forth. But also there are many who now are still looking for further support to be on their own. So we now started shopping for outlets or inlets where these beneficiaries can go in, because they are now organized. We have trained them. They know how to report to work. They know how to say yes sir in the morning to their bosses. They know how to write reports, and the practical life issues now is clear to them. So now, even when employers or credit facilities get this type of graduates, they are getting them at a higher level as opposed to just coming out of university or polytechnic or college of education. So we now created a portal, an exit portal. We say, look, we are now shopping for opportunities for you to actually do 1 or 2 things. If you are interested, can you log onto this portal and then submit who you are, your own training, where did you do your Empower number, and so on and so forth.
About 350,000 out of the 500,000 beneficiaries registered for the NSIP training, which was designed to help them get trained and access loans to start up their intended businesses. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs set out to create a loan program for the Empower NSIP trainees.
We now consulted the CBN. You know they have a lot of agriculture program, from the NIRSAL program to the Anchor Borrowers program to the banking committee, the packages, and so on and so forth. And we had a discussion with the central bank that, look, this is the pool of people that have passed through Empower. Can we start with you so that you can link them directly so that they can be able to take up loans? So CBN now offered to say, look, for anybody to benefit on our programs, they must understand how the program works, how to apply. We have our forms, we have our timing and everything, we have our limits and so on. So that was what we did, that NSIP training. So we partnered with the CBN. They have their own consultants who will normally train people to even have a certificate of attendance and in preparing them to have access. So that was how we organized that training. A lot of these beneficiaries have passed through. We are still working very hard to ensure that we smoothen the linkage with the CBN. As you know very well, CBN is not under us. CBN is not our institution. Their program is not our program. We're just partnering because we are a government institution. So hopefully, by the time the CBN gets their act together, you will now start seeing some of these beneficiaries attracted to some of their loan packages and then actualizing some of their agricultural programs.
After receiving a report from 2 ministerial retreats and further direct reports from the Humanitarian Ministry, President Buhari realized the value of the NSIP in addressing poverty in Nigeria. He immediately directed for a law to establish the NSIP as an agency. That led to the Federal Executive Council approving the National Social Investment Program Establishment Bill 2022. The Council, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at its meeting on Wednesday, September 7, 2022, resolved that the NSIPs should be backed by legislation to ensure its continuity and sustainability.
The program is still service to humanity, and on this episode, we are looking at the latest developments in the National Social Investment Programs, otherwise called the NSIP. In our last segment, we brought you an interaction between our crew and the national coordinator of the NSIP, where he highlighted for us major landmark achievements in the NSIP since the year 2022. Next, we shall bring you testimonies of some Abuja beneficiaries of the N-Skills, a component of the Empower cluster of the NSIP. Keep watching.
Hello. Hi. Good morning, class. Good morning. I think today is the third day of our practicals.
A couple of months back, 6,475 youths were trained on the repair of smartphones. The training, which took place nationwide, saw 175 youths drawn from each state of the Federation based on a certification system and an accreditation of practical training provided through the informal training system. The beneficiaries of the program were trained on phone repair, which is the main program, entrepreneurship, and life skills.
Once you want to peel it, you put it back on the machine.
Emmanuel Essong, a trainer at the Abuja N-Skills Center, shares some of the areas the beneficiaries were trained.
I told them how to, as a smartphone technician, you should know how to change a charging port. We start with charging port. After charging port, we have done how to diagnose a phone with a faulty, how to read how current passes through the charging the USB, through the AC to DC in a mobile phone. As a technician, you need to know all this, which they have been taught. And the students are very excited. The students, they are cooperating, they are understanding the class, which some of them, they can be able to change the charging point through the process of the practical.
Essong speaks of the level of commitment of the trainees.
I can see some of them, some among almost all, they are very serious. They are very happy to be in this class. that if federal government can produce something like this, they will be very useful to the society. Some of them, they are ready to, after the class, to start up a business as a phone technician. I can see the Z on most of them, which is very good. They will be useful to themselves in the society.
He also commends the federal government for the initiative.
I'm very excited for federal government to come out with this initiative to empower youth in mobile phone repairs. Because if you check on the streets, we have so many people that work on the fixed phone, they earn their living, a better living to themselves in this country. We have places, different places. In fact, in this location of Abuja, we have the GSM village, we have the Barnes Plaza and MAP and some other ones. So if federal government can bring up this initiative and bring out a program like this to help the Nigerian youth, I think it's a very good idea.
Erute Mark and Helen Bauer, some of the End Skills beneficiaries, also share their experience and the training.
It's an interesting program because we have very good instructors that have instructed us on how to develop our skills in terms of human management, and from there we also migrated to having some form of theories on mobile phone repair, and we are giving a lot of education on the theoretical aspect of fixing mobile phone, starting from the definitions and types of mobile phone.
We learned much about life skill, how to handle your business and how to handle your customers and how to go about with them. When a customer enters your shop, you will talk to him in a polite way, greet him so much, and when he brings a job for you, you know the one you cannot do, just open up to him and tell him, no, you cannot be able to do it, and respect your customers, greet them very well anywhere you are. If a customer barge into your shop and you start talking to you in an embarrass you or anyhow, control your anger. As a business person, you know how to control your anger. First of all, control your anger and calm him down.
During the training, the beneficiaries were given 13,500 as stipends. They were also issued with starter packs to help them in the business.
So far, we have been given equipment for repairing of handsets, bought the generator to power the lights, and again, our allowance has been given on to us every week. At the end of every week, we have been receiving our 13,500 just for our transport, including the feeding, and everything has been going well.
The beneficiaries commend and appreciate the efforts of the federal government for the opportunity to learn various skills.
I want to use this opportunity to send my gratitude and appreciation to the president of this great country, the president of President Muhammadu Buhari, and the Minister for Humanitarian Affairs, person of Hajia Farouk. Honestly, they have done well because through this program, so many persons have been taught to know how to depend on themselves. Though I've been hearing about it for long, but I thought it was a fallacy. I thought it was a fake until I became one of the beneficiaries. So being part of it today, I see that what I've been hearing is correct and is real. And honestly, I must say that the president have done well, the minister have done well. And if actually these things have been going on from the previous administrations, I think Nigeria would have been a better place.
I am really opportune and I'm happy and grateful to be here. And my appreciation goes to our President Muhammadu Buhari, and our Ajia, Mrs. Sadia, for her to bring the youth, to empower youth up to this stage, so that we benefit from it. She has tried for us. I pray for her that God will bless her and keep her. And my any desire for her that she will see a long life. Even for Buhari region, many people say they've not benefited, but I appreciate God. I have benefited a lot. Even with this one given to me is a great opportunity, because many youths are out there looking for the opportunity they did not see. So the one that God has given me, and my name was shortlisted among this one, I really want to appreciate God.
And that is our package for this week. Until I come your way again next week, stay safe. Don't forget to send in questions and suggestions to any of our social media platforms, or drop a message on the ministry's page on Facebook or Twitter as shown on your screen. See you next week.